Councilman Everson.
Here.
Councilman Jenkins. Councilman Corbin.
Present.
Councilman Corey.
Present.
Councilwoman Lynch. And Councilman Bowman.
Yes. Tomorrow will be interesting to see if we receive a motion for approval of the minutes of the Administrative Council Conference and the City Council meeting of June 27th. At this time, does any council member have any recognitions of distinguished guests or awards at this time? Madam Mayor, I'd like to be recognized and ask those that we'd like to bring up so that they won't have to sit through this whole meeting and they'll be able to be free to go about their day. What's left of it.
Thank you.
So would you please call those and recognize those to come up, Mayor?
Yes, sir. The ones that we're going to appoint, and we're asking council members to appoint July 25th are the following. Of course, Dr. McCray is not here with us today. He's out of town. Mr. Prentice Smith, and if you will come on up, Mr. Smith. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon. And then we have some others that are here that we'd like to also bring up for the appointment. Thank you, sir.
It's good to be here.
Okay.
Would you please state your name and address for the record?
Okay, Prentice A. Smith, 6211 South Windermere Drive, Shreveport, Louisiana.
Okay. We thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith? We thank you for being willing to serve.
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Yes, Councilman Bradford, do you have?
I'm trying to.
Greater Shreveport Human Relations.
Yeah, okay. Is that on the agenda?
It's on
Yes,
the
if you go to
clerk's
the end.
On the clerk's notes. Okay.
Clerk's report. Yes.
Okay, help me understand. Now, just
Okay.
Mr. Smith. I thought that
Mr. Smith is a reappointment. If you look on the agenda, Councilman Bradford, under the clerk's report, item number 13, we have boards, some boards that need appointments that have now ended. And Mr. Smith is a reappointment.
Okay.
And it's listed there, and we have included for you his resume. But he has served under Greater Shreveport Human Relations Commission, was appointed in 2014.
Yes, ma'am.
And so his tenure is up, and I'd like to reappoint him after the council confirms.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and I appreciate Mr. Smith. I've been knowing him for years. And I guess my only question would be, can you sort of give us a view of how have that body been functioning?
Well, I can because I've not missed a meeting. We've had several meetings over the last 3 years or 2.5 years. Mrs. Kreider is the chairman of the commission, and it has been, we've been basically trying to get all the ground rules, all of the rules set, and we had to go through the city attorney and had to make sure that everything was up to par. So that was the bulk of the first meetings. We've had a few cases that have come before the body, but they have not been completely resolved. We've had a few people come in and speak to us about different issues. But my whole push on this is that I was asked to serve. I enjoyed serving. I don't mind serving. I have a lot of time on my hands since I'm retired now. And so I think the body is useful. And I think that there are a lot of things in the city that need to be addressed with respect to equal rights. And I think that the way that this body is going about it in a deliberative way is a good thing. And as I say, we've got a pretty good group of people, pretty good mixture of folk. And as I say, I think that as we go forward now, this is my second time around, and I think we'll be more, I think we'll be able to really affect change and do things that we think need to be done. And as I say, it's not just one group of people, it's equal rights, period. LGBTQ, it is for rights for between gender equality, racial equality, all of that. So I'm pretty excited about serving and willing to do it again.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith, and I applaud your overall value to the city and your writings and various print media, Facebook. I mean, you seem to be always on.
Yeah, well, as I say, I have a lot of time on my hands, but I've been writing for the paper for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I've been, I retired about 8 years ago, and, grandkids keep me going a lot. But, I love Shreveport. I'm from Ruston originally, but this is my home now. And I've been here for 35 years. And Ruston is where I was born and raised, but Shreveport is where I raised my children and where I, really made my career and everything. So this is, I'm very concerned about Shreveport. I think that, and I think I told this to the mayor with a meeting. I've watched city government work for some years, and I think that the tone that has been set over these last 2.5 years has been better than the previous term, because there was always bickering, there was always fighting, there was always seemed like the mayor and the city councilman always had something going between them. But as I've said to the mayor, and as I'm saying to you, and as I've said to you before in the past, because years ago you and I started an organization. It's called Citizens for Better Elected Officials. That was Councilman Bradford and I and some more people got together, and it was called SIBO. And we worked in the communities. We tried to get things going. We just couldn't make it go like we wanted to. But the ultimate goal was for him to get in a position in the council. He ran for office, and very happy to see him there. But I've been concerned about Shreveport for a long time, still am. And I've told the mayor, and I've told anyone, if there's anything that I can do to, affect change in a positive way, I'm up for that.
Well, let me just end by saying you answered my question when you said you feel that the organization is relevant, and as long as this is relevant, then we need good people like you to participate.
Thank you, man, and I do. I really think it is relevant, and I hope that we can eventually come back to the council and show where we've made some positive impact on the city.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, Councilman Everson, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say both thank you for serving, and I agree with what you said. I think that the Human Relations Commission does seem to be taking a measured approach to trying to make sure that y'all see what's working and not working in other communities, how to set up so that we have a body that can help provide equal access to
Yes.
public facilities, and that's an important thing to have in our community. I appreciate y'all doing that. I know it's not easy to kind of start something up like that, but certainly want to appreciate the service, and I also want to thank Mayor Tyler in reaffirming these appointments. Sometimes I know that the way the language is written, it says, or will continue to serve until someone else is appointed.
Right.
But it's nice to know that somebody is actually in their appointment and not just serving on, in a appointment that's actually expired. So,
And I'm happy to serve.
I appreciate your return.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
What's your address again, Mr. Smith?
Mr. Smith.
Mr. Smith, what's your address?
What's your address again?
6211 South Windermere Drive. I'm in your district.
I'm just making sure.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay, and I've said, council members, to the people that we're going to appoint actually at the next council meeting, that you will ask your questions today and they won't have to come back. And so if we still in that same mode, I want to know that, because I did say that to them. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Smith, for coming today. The next one, Miss Lakeisha Coleman, Russell Coleman. We have her as one of the appointees for the Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Authority. If you will, Miss, hi there, how are you? Okay, Miss Coleman, thank you for coming today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Give your name. And
Oh, my name is Lakeisha Russell Coleman, and address is 2600 Celebration Cove, number 405, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71105.
Any questions? I have one. Councilman
Okay, I don't know if your resume either didn't show up on my list or I missed it. We got several of these at the same time, so
We did.
there is a chance that either I was looking at the wrong attachment. So can you just tell me what your background is?
Mortgages. I'm a CRA mortgage loan officer. So.
Oh, okay.
So-
I assume you had some expertise associated with the organization. Yours was one I couldn't.
Mortgages. What I do is I help my clients get money for down payment, grants, and I work for Home Federal Bank. So we're a participating lender for the HAPPY program. So I really push down payment assistance programs. We get them through the state of Louisiana as well. So we have a lot of different mortgage products. And I was born and raised in Hollywood Heights. My father bought the house there. My mother is still there. So I'm really involved in my community, and I want to make sure that my community is thriving. So I want to really serve.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we did include that resume. Each of you should have gotten it.
No, and I got a bunch, and she was one that but I may have had the wrong attachment open when I was looking at the resume.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think there are 4 that you sent us in one email. And
Yeah, we probably did. We're trying to, this is a brand new board, and we've got other boards that we're trying to reappoint before their time run out. So we're trying to make sure we keep up with our boards and commissions this time. But, and of course, based on the law, we had to actually stagger the terms for this particular board, like we do some of the other boards. And for Ms. Coleman, she is being recommended by the Greater Shreveport Chamber, and that for the first year, initial year, that's 2 years. And then she'll come back if we need to reappoint in 2 years.
Perfect.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Russell,
Hey, Chair.
that's my schoolmate, so I don't have to say too much more than that. She was a great person. She was always involved, as she said, in the community and in school during that time. So I just happy to see you come along and what really say.
So maybe we should be asking her about you. I mean, maybe that's more appropriate for the nature of this discussion. Oh, sorry. Okay.
She wants his vote. No, I'm kidding.
Thank you very much.
If I could
Oh,
just
I'm
briefly
sorry.
thank you for volunteering to serve on this particular commission. It's one that I have a lot of interest in seeing be successful, and I know there's going to be a number of ongoing conversations about kind of identifying the role and how it's going to function. And those are really important towards the success of an organization like this, so I appreciate you being willing to serve on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. Our next one is Attorney Tom Arsenault. He has agreed also to serve on this Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Authority. And this is, by the way, council members, this is one that we pushed to get done when I first came into office because we wanted to look at ways to redevelop, and get rid of some of the blight and so forth in our community. So this administration put this out there first in 2015. We didn't get what we wanted to, so we decided to go ahead and appoint the members. So Mr. Arsenault has agreed to actually serve on this one as my appointment. Well, all of these would be my appointment, but he's coming from the mayor's office. And we have 6 organizations that had to recommend based on the law. Okay?
My name is Tom Arsenault. I live at 536 Jordan Street, Shreveport, 71101. Hope all of you had my resume. I'm up here fairly frequently, so I think most of you know this is I believe this is a very, very important agency. And it'll be a challenge. We have a great agency with all volunteers and no budget. But I bet we can make it work because we have some really good people. I know Ms. Russell Coleman. I know Mr. Thompson. I know a number of the other people that the mayor is appointing. I think she selected a very good group of people to get this started and to have an impact on the city. Happy to answer any questions.
And I too want to say thank you for your service.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
And if I could add as well, and I know I'm sorry I jumped in on every one of the appointments to this because I do think it's so important, but another good choice I would say because Tom, I know you've had some subject matter expertise on this, and both through your writings and through just knowing what you advocate for in general in our community, it seems like a great combination of both your interests and your talents. So.
Thanks. So there'll be a couple of organizations that I'll be dropping off of to concentrate more fully on this and getting this rolling with the other members of the board. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Arsenault. Next, Mr. Lloyd Thompson. He's also a recommendation for the CIRA board, and this is this new board, and he's agreed to serve and help us with redevelopment and also, elimination of blight and eyesores, and working with this group to make sure that we can get Shreveport in a good place. So I want to thank Mr. Thompson for coming today.
It's Lloyd Thompson, 1620 Fullerton, apartment 412.
Just want to thank you as well for serving, Lloyd, again. It's a good, diverse group of people that are coming together with different subject matter expertise, and I'm excited to see it. I think, there's been other communities who've had both successes and failures with organizations like this, and I think with this great group of folks, y'all are going to be able to take a look at what worked and didn't, and take the part that worked for us. So, excited, and I appreciate you willing to serve.
Willie? You're not going to say nothing about your friend? But anyway, let me just say thank the mayor for appointing me. I was just sitting back there thinking when I first came to Shreveport, I served on just about every mayor that's been elected, from the MPC to the Plumbing Electric Board, Civil Service Board, you name it, I've been involved in the city. So this is my home. I grew up in a little small town called Ringo. I've been in Shreveport over 30 plus years, and I've been involved and real excited about the direction the city going in the direction it can go.
Since Lord called me out, I got to admit that I've been doing it for 34 years. I've been in Shreveport. But, I appreciate your willingness to always be available to do what is called on you to do. This is so different. But I was wondering, you got your irons on a lot of fire. What do you feel specifically that you can contribute to this board?
Well, sitting down talking to the mayor, talking about all the blighted within our community, which I've been concerned about, vacant houses, lots growing up. I just hope that working with the committee that we will be able to do something about it. The community I stay in, I have some serious concerns when I pass by and see houses falling down, weeds growing up. I just hope that the committee can come together and let's make Shreveport look like the place we all want to live in, the place we want to stay, and not just on one side of town, but even on the other side of town. I believe Shreveport deserves to be a great city. When folks come to Shreveport, they can say, I want to stay in this place. I want to stay in this community. And that's what I'm hoping to contribute to the committee.
I'm going to request of you, and you can relay it to the rest of them, but I would really appreciate it if you guys would come down periodically and give us some progress reports.
I'll do whatever direction of the committee and the direction of how the mayor set it up.
Okay, and we'll be glad to do that, Councilman Bradford. We'll be glad to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for being willing to serve wherever they asked you.
Thank you.
Speaks highly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I was gonna say something. He took it right out of him. Just took it right away.
I just said, no, you're going to say something.
AOT.
All right. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We appreciate your willingness to serve on this authority. And by the way, tomorrow, hopefully, we'll have 4 other people that will be confirmed for this same committee. We brought those names 2 weeks ago, and they came from various organizations that were recommended, where they recommended 3 names, and I was able to choose one after we did some vetting. So we'll have 4 people already in place, and as soon as we can get them all in place, then this committee will come together and meet and set some ground rules and select some officers and so forth. So I did want to just say that. Our next board is the Shreveport Airport Authority. Ms. Sheehy and Dr. Jackson, both, we're asking, I'm going to be reappointing both of them. So if Ms. Sheehy, if you both would like to come on. I think you all are familiar with these two ladies who work diligently in our community, and we're just asking for, I'm going to reappoint them, and I'm asking for confirmation on both of them. Okay?
Agreed.
Margaret Sheehy, mailing address is 1818 Marshall Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101.
Mary Jackson, 1515 Ford Street, Shreveport, Louisiana.
Any questions?
What do you guys, what was your terms? What was your terms?
The term?
The previous term, yeah.
I was put in for 1 month the first time. Then I was reappointed by the former mayor, and my term is up again, and the mayor's asked me to stay
So
on.
5 years total?
I think they're staggered terms. I believe there were 4 terms, 4 years to the term.
In 1 month.
Yeah, I had one of my terms was 1 month, and then I got reappointed.
And you, Ms. Jackson,
Yes, Mr. Bradford, I was appointed back, I believe, in the latter part of 2011 or 12 to fill in a position that was vacant by a young lady that served 5 months of her original term. So once I completed her term, I was continued in my term from that point on. She had only served 5 months, I think, out of her 4-year term. So I just want to thank Mayor Tyler for considering me again to
the point I was getting at, that you collectively have been there a while.
Yes, we have.
And you have seen a lot as it relates to the good, the bad, challenges, the strengths, the weaknesses. How would you project the future of our airport in regards to expansions? I know we just celebrated 65 years, but how do you see, or what do you feel you can further contribute to the progress and development of that airport as board members? Oh, I mean, I'm asking the same question.
Since I've been on the board, I have to say that I've gotten an opportunity to learn more about the airport from being a board member as opposed to just being a passenger on the plane. I've seen some growth in knowledge of myself, and I've seen the airport grow and develop. And if we stay on the path that we're on now, I can see that with the staff that we have in place, Mr. Thompson and Ms. Sheehy, our chairperson, and the mayor on board, I see Shreveport doing great and bringing in more services. And, we're going to get up there with those bigger airports and stuff. And I'm just glad to be a part of that growth and development.
I think the market is prone for that type of vision.
Oh, yeah. People are traveling all the time, families taking their kids on vacation. So, and I think Shreveport, being the 3rd largest city, is positioned right where it can be a part of that growth.
And one thing I could talk to you, Councilman Bradford, a lot of other smaller towns have lost their service, particularly things in East Texas, so they're coming our way. We're drawing from South Arkansas, East Texas, and we're poised to even increase our numbers. That's our goal.
Do you see opportunity for more commercial apparatuses of growth?
Commercial airlines, or?
I didn't mean commercial. In that sense, I was talking about more of cargo freight type of.
Oh, sure. We're always looking and trying to develop that area of the airports.
I mean, because again, I mean, not lately, but there was a period within the history of our town that the airport was very scrutinized on fares and accessibility and flights and the type of planes that come in. I think Mr. Thompson has really helped with you guys working with him. We really want to see us, the Charlotte flight starting in March. I think we have opportunities, but the perception and the image that needs to happen out there.
Well, I think we're always out there promoting the airport, either through commercials or appearances such as this, or going on talk shows or the radio. We're always promoting both airports, actually, downtown and regional. And it is a regional airport, not just a Shreveport airport. I always refer to it as a regional airport because we serve so much. And we're always out there pushing and plugging away, trying to get more business.
My last question is, it has been mentioned, and I haven't mentioned it to the mayor nor Mr. Thompson, that in some airports, there's a lot of history along the corridors. And is that something that you guys can consider?
Well, in the terminal, we have a lot of old pictures hanging up, actually, of, I think, presidents that have come through and that sort of thing. We've also promoting the film industry, a lot of the movies that were produced here. And we also have Artport, which helps support local artists. And we always have a lot of, I can't say how many are hanging down, but there's many pictures in the airport of the past history. And with our 65th anniversary just celebrated last week, we'll keep promoting that as well.
And we encourage the community, if they have anything they would like to add or hang in the airport, we encourage the community and our partners to come and, to display their works or whatever they can about Shreveport. So,
But one of the specific things I would speak to you guys on it, if you have to the board, that this city has a rich history of civil rights. I see no images of that history along those roads.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought you meant a history of the airport.
Well, yeah, but I'm just talking about overall artifacts in images that reflects Shreveport in a different way. And you see those in other cities. That's what I mentioned. That's why I mentioned it. And I think it would add some.
You send us some, we'll display them.
as we said, we're open and we look for that kind of stuff every month. We meet every Thursday each month at 10 o'clock. We're open to the public, and it's always made known at the meeting that we welcome this type of event.
Well, I will do that. There's a civil rights coalition that you could add to that image, but there's no policy in not portraying those type of images. No. Okay.
No, there's no, no.
We can do that. We can assist in that area.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Ms. Tyler.
Thank you so much
Yeah,
for being.
thank y'all.
Sir.
And the Charlotte flight starts August 22nd.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Well, I
ladies.
should have asked if councilmen are eligible to win the awards, because, that, so, but that's okay, I won't put you on
See
the
me after the
spot.
meeting with the 20. No, I'm kidding.
Scratch that.
Thank you, Ms. Sheehy. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Appreciate it. Those are the ones that we'll be asking for confirmation on July the 25th. Thank you, sir, for allowing them to come first. We appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a communication request for the mayor and administration. I, like everybody, the groundbreaking, not the groundbreaking, but the Cargill Park
Ribbon cutting.
ribbon cutting.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to go out to the tournament this week, but I'm concerned, and if you could you provide me with the number of fair share clients or businesses, or like businesses that participated in the renovation of that facility?
I can. I will. I will ask Mrs. Reagan Wood if she will pull that for us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other council member? Mayor?
I don't have any announcements today. I'll have them tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Green. Does anyone have any questions or concerns for property standards? Certainly missed you last week. Glad you're back.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Green. Thank you for your service. I see no questions.
Thank you, sir.
And I believe Mr. Crawford's already given the revenue collection plan. And Mr. Bradford has sent us the surety bond report. Any questions on any of that? And public hearing?
We have one tomorrow, Mr. Chair.
Okay. We have one tomorrow. That's that resolution 110, right?
That's the one.
All right, adding legislation to the agenda, public work comments and confirmations and appointments. Before I start, Mr. Winter, Bill Winter, you sent me a request, and I'm not sure that I understand what this is for because it's not on the agenda today.
What is on the agenda? Excuse me.
Come to the mic, will you please? Thank you so kindly.
I just saw it up there. Item D, hold on. Property stand, no, excuse me. It is
2003 is the property standard.
Property Standards Report, Resolution 7 of 2003. It was online on the agenda.
Mr. Thompson, can you help me with this?
Yeah,
He's
referring
talking
to Resolution 7 of 2003 is the resolution calling for a property standard report to be given at our work sessions. So that's what it is.
Oh.
So there's not a vote on it on our agenda, but it is on our agenda.
I guess it is on the agenda.
Mr. Clerk, how did you rule on that?
Well, it's on the agenda, so if he wants to speak on
Does council want to,
Sure.
does anyone object? No. Okay, Mr. Lee, go ahead and speak. You have 3 minutes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
William B. Weiner, number 2 Longleaf Lane, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71106. What I have to say cannot be said in 3 minutes. I have read the attachment of what you're going to be looking at tomorrow, and there's some things in there that could trigger some very offensive legal issues and some national issues that would put a black eye on this city, and they need to be talked about and addressed and modified. And I want to ask that you put on the agenda to postpone the discussion of that.
Of which thing are you talking about?
It is Property Standards Report Resolution 7 of 03.
Can you just give us a synopsis specifically of what you think we're talking about?
It's a pretty complex resolution. I read it online. And, okay, the city does not have clean hands as far as taking care of its property and demolition and making the properties, declaring them that they have to be demolished. There are some historic properties that have been addressed since 1984. The council has taken action to preserve them, and what is written in this, what you're going to hear tomorrow, your resolution or whatever it is, can trigger some pretty unpleasant discussions, maybe legal actions, and maybe national bad publicity. And I wanted to ask you to postpone that until we can talk about it.
Mr. Winter, would you suspend? I yield to the city attorney.
I think you are under the impression that Resolution 7 of 2003 will be considered tomorrow. That resolution was passed in 2003. It's not up for discussion, debate, or vote tomorrow. This resolution is on and referenced by law on the agenda as the point of time when the Property Standards Office fields reports or questions from the council related to property standards issues. This resolution will not be considered tomorrow. It was passed in 2003.
I understood that it was going to, some amendments to it were going to be considered or changed. Well, there are some problems with it I would like to talk to you about before you get in trouble. My uncle, who was a fine attorney and turned over the management of the family property in Shreveport to me, he told me, when I write these little agreements for tenants, he said, figure out what can never happen and then cover it. And that's what I want to do. There's some things that might happen that we need to address and covered so that property standards action doesn't lead to demolition, leads to court action and bad publicity. There's some things that can be done to make it great for everybody.
Mr. Chairman, giving Mr. Winter all due respect, it appears that his concerns could be referred to the Property Standard Committee, and then that committee could further ascertain his concerns and bring a recommendation back to this body.
I've done that route before.
I'm sorry?
It's a dead end for the public not having.
This is the chairman, Mr. Bowman.
On the record. No, not this particular committee, but other committees. By sending things to committee, it's ducking the issue. It should be discussed by the full council in session before the public.
Well, I think, if I could interject real quick, I think, so there isn't anything that's being debated. If there are concerns you have, the way that sort of starts a debate is to reach out to either the committee, or if you have specific, I mean, you're welcome to email me if you have specific ideas that you need changed, and I'm happy to look into those. I think we're all kind of caught off guard a little bit because I don't think it's entirely clear what your concern is. I mean, I know you said which piece of legislation, but since that's not up for a vote, I think we're trying to, and I'm sure that there was, something that motivated you to look into it and you had some concerns, but if you might be able to clarify that for us, maybe not during this setting right here, but maybe after the meeting or at the council office, maybe if we could get a better understanding of what your concern is, we could be able to address it. What I'm hearing is that you're concerned about some of the demolition of properties, and certainly I think we've discussed in the property standards meeting and in other settings just about how sometimes it is challenging that is one of our only alternatives.
Okay, let me just say a few things. What do you think is the most historic, significant structure in Shreveport?
Well, you've asked me this question several times. I mean, I've heard this conversation before, but what do you think it is?
It is Galilee. In Galilee, what happened changed the whole social, economic, political structure of this community. In Galilee, Martin Luther King spoke, I call it 2.5 times. There's documentation, photographs, and audio of 2 of the times. The other time, there's no documentation. In the basement of Galilee, they held classes to teach their members how to register to vote. They held classes to teach the children of their members how to integrate the schools. They held classes to teach how to segregate the lunch counters at H.L. Green and the other place downtown. What they did semi-peacefully integrated this city in a good way. And because of that, we have all citizens being treated the same. And it is such an important building. I challenge you to tell me of another building that has had as much impact on the city. And that building was the council previously from 1994 and then again has said to preserve that building. It is not being preserved. The mayor was given information from a study to put tarps on the roof to stop the rain from coming in. It was ignored. It's deteriorated because the city's not taking care of it. It's a valuable asset to this property and to the nation. And this 03 ordinance has things in there that would really allow property standards to condemn the building and demolish it. And the city should be under the same regulations as the rest of the community. And it's listed on the National Register, and it needs to be saved. And the way that is written, it's questionable, and it might end up in court. So that's, in essence, what I'm going to talk about tomorrow.
Your time has expired, Mr. Winter. Thank you. Look forward to hearing from you later.
Not really.
Ms. Jones?
Yes, sir. Under Section 7, adding legislation to the agenda, I'm not aware that there's any. Under Section B, public comments, we did that. Confirmations and appointments, the Shreveport Implementation and Redevelopment Authority. Individuals for recommendation, Ms. Kristen Brown, Mr. Alfred Darrell Johnson Jr., Attorney Shanerica Flemings, and Mr. Justin Sevier. For the Shreveport Airport Authority Board, Mr. Jonathan Reynolds, for a 5-year term, replaces Bishop L. Lawrence Brandon, resigned on 4/26/2017. Under consent agenda legislation, Resolution 123, suspending certain provisions of Chapter 10, Chapter 62, and any applicable provisions of the Unified Development Code of the Shreveport Code of Ordinances relative to the sale, dispensing, and consumption of alcoholic beverages for the Wheels in the Heels at 3901 Fairfield Avenue.
Okay, any discussion? Please.
Under
Proceed.
Section 9, regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage. Resolution 110, stating the City of Shreveport's endorsement of Market Street Shreveport LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Restoration Tax Abatement Program. Resolution 120, authorizing the execution of a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Arklatex Regional Air Service Alliance. Resolution 121, authorizing the mayor to accept an in-kind donation of a gazebo and landscaping valued at $92,030 to be constructed at Oakland Cemetery from the Oakland Cemetery Preservation Society to the City of Shreveport to be utilized by the city and its citizens.
Okay, any discussion?
Councilman Jones.
I have a question on Resolution 110. I'm not sure the address is correct. It says 609 Market, or at least that's what I saw.
Okay.
I don't know if there's really there's either a 619 or there's a 509. Both of them are in very,
I believe we just talked about that, didn't we?
There's a difference between Market and North Market. And I think if you
this is one block apart. 601 is Red River Bank Building, at least
This is 509. isn't it?
509, not
Yes.
609.
This is one of the projects that.
And then the other former petroleum whatever building is 619, but I think we're talking about the other block, right? We're a block north of
I
it.
think if you come out of the Regions Bank Tower on the side by Market Street, if you're looking across, that's 509.
It's 509.
That's the one that says.
Yeah.
That's what
509.
And
That's
doesn't
the
it
one.
say 609 in the thing?
It does say 609.
On the fact sheet, I think
the
it
fact
does.
sheet.
I think the fact sheet is incorrect.
That's what I'm.
Fact
Although the public noticing, I think, is correct. Isn't that why we postponed it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's 509.
It's
right?
509.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what was postponed.
All right.
Because the original notification had the wrong address, so they corrected that. And now it may not have been corrected on the fact sheet, but it was corrected
Okay, sorry.
on the public notice.
Okay.
You're right. It's
I'm not
just-
trying to. I
yeah,
was
no,
just
you're-
like looking at it and trying to figure out which building it is, and then no 609 showed up.
Yeah, no,
And
you're,
so I'm
you're correct.
really just
That
notifying.
was a mistake that was made. It was corrected for the noticing. It may have not been corrected on the fact sheet. So.
Okay, sorry.
We'll
I
make
didn't
sure it's
even know
corrected
this
in
was
both
correct.
places. We need to correct it in
Before
both
we vote
places.
on it, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll make
I
sure.
mean, I didn't know we had postponed this, so I'm sorry that I.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Okay, sorry about that.
But yeah, no, you're not wrong to notice that and to ask that. It's just it had already been addressed. So that's why I was looking at Bonnie like, we did correct that on the notice, right?
We
Yeah,
did,
so
we did.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay, the other one is the risk of putting it out there. I'm going to read the thing. Okay, so the RASA part, is that just how we had to set up this cooperative endeavor, this organization, so that they could do marketing and kind of negotiations without the city being involved?
Not negotiations, but let me bring Mr. Thompson
So,
up
I mean,
and he'll explain about the
structure
funding and
and
the
then why
structure of
we're
RASA.
doing it.
Okay.
I mean, I should remember this, but I don't.
Yes, so RASA is set up, and they collect the hotel motel tax on behalf of the airport because we're prohibited from doing so. And so this is $200,000 that they've agreed to pay in support of marketing and promoting the Charlotte route.
I'm well aware of that.
And
So, but why are we involved in it is truthfully the question.
we're involved in it because RASA is not in the business of marketing and promoting, and this is the only way in which to transfer the funds from them directly to the city and the airport.
So this is the way that they receive the funds through this tax.
That's
They
correct.
collect the funds, and when it comes time to expenditure, they then transfer it over to the city, and the city writes a check.
That is correct. We do the marketing and promoting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Jones, would you proceed with your introduction of resolutions?
Yes, sir. Resolution 124, authorizing the donation of Shreveport Police Department surplus property, specifically retiring 2 horses at the end of their service career. Resolution 125, authorizing the submission of the 2017 annual action plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Resolution 126, amending the fee schedule for the Emergency Medical Services Division of the Shreveport Fire Department.
Any discussion? Okay, let's proceed.
Section C, introduction of ordinances. Ordinance 73, amending the 2017 debt service fund budget. Ordinance 74, amending the 2017 capital improvements budget. Ordinance 75, an ordinance amending the 2017 airports enterprise fund budget.
Do you have any discussion? Okay.
As long as those horses don't end up in District C, I'm good.
Ms. Jones?
Under Section D, ordinances on second reading and final passage. Ordinance 67, authorizing the mayor to execute a lease of city-owned property to Lone Star Coaches. Ordinance 69, amending the 2017 capital improvements budget. Ordinance 70, amending the 2017 general fund budget. Ordinance 71, zoning case number C-50-17, and ordinance amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance by rezoning property located on the south side of West 70th, 295 feet west of Clug Pines Road, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R1D, Urban 1 Family Residence District, to R1DE, Urban 1 Family Residence District, extended use to R1D PUD, Urban 1 Family Residence Planned Unit Development District.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Becker?
can I get, and I know we discussed this at the previous meeting, again, Mayor, Chief, could explain Ordinance 7, exactly how would those funds be placed and allocated?
Okay. I'm going to ask the chief to come up. Okay. Now that is the $150,000.
Yes, ma'am.
And specifically, we asked for overtime for patrols in the communities and all the neighborhoods. And so whatever we asked for is what we're going to do with the money. But maybe you want some more specificity?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask a couple of questions, but just, again, Chief, give me an overview of what specifically, I mean, it's going to go within the big scope of budget to be there when needed. Is that correct? How would you place it and then just
go ahead, I'm sorry.
dismiss it?
We would be using it, as a matter of fact, to continue. We started Operation Long Haul this past Thursday, and that operation is not just for the summertime, but to continue into the fall and further if necessary, and also just to have those funds available. Long Haul is designed for the specificity of the increase in cost for service in Part 1 crimes, and we can go from district to district. We have a two-team unit right now that responds that way, but if robbery needs to put on an operation, or if burglary needs to put on an operation, or even COP in doing the operations that they do, if they need additional funding, it would comprise all of that, and it would really give them the freedom of operation. The commanders that once had that when I first came, and because of budgetary issues and decisions that the council had to make that caused those operations to cease, being able to get that back will help that, and they can move more freely as crime patterns emerge, or if something happens in a particular area or district, then they can put together a operation to address that specifically while patrol and other units are still doing their thing.
Routine. Thank you. I had a follow-up on that question, but I'm gonna come back to that. With the incidents that has been happening over the last several weeks and months, it appears that it has put a strain on your detective department. following up on some of these incidents. Would that be a part of the equation as it relates to overtime pay? Or will that require additional man hours to be out there working these cases?
Now, most of what our investigators do, they can do during the course of their 8-hour employ. A lot of those cases, we receive a high volume of them, but actually, once you begin to look at the investigative factors of it, and sometimes after very early stage of investigation, to find out that many of those calls are really nothing that could be worked through. Unfortunately, we have to take them. If somebody said they were robbed and whatever initial story they give, we have to follow up on that, and many times some of them prove to not be true, and so a lot of those cases can be closed out. So it really frees them up to continue to deal with those issues that have more investigative factors that they can continue those leads on. But as far as the operations themselves, many times some things are seasonal, like with robbery. It falls a lot of times during the holidays that they may pick up and run a lot of operations in the business corridors in our city. And then burglary, it just depends. It kind of floats from district to district. But as those things emerge, we can put together something to deal with it immediately and hopefully not allow it to fester. And those funds will help us be able to do that.
So, as it relates to man hours, that's dedicated to new cases and to cases that require investigating, you don't see a burden of resources expended that way.
We hadn't had an issue that way. The issue has been trying to increase the visibility of patrol on the street to deal with the various things that have been transpiring.
Okay. And again, these are some byproducts that I noticed as it relates to, and I'm asking the fire chief as well, when there's an incident, a shooting or a killing, it appears that at least 10 units are dispatched that way to that scene to secure it and to do what needs to be done to create the happening, why it happened, and suspects and questioning. Is that man hours that are being expended in conjunction with this need of overtime?
I mean, the units that are on duty, depending on what type of call it is, it's, let's say, just to use a district, if it happened in District 3, if units that are close in District 1 or 2, sometimes even 4, it just depends on the nature of that call. But also, if an operation is in order, if there's a call that come in that say an officer needs assistance, or if there is a shooting or robbery or something of that nature, those units can assist. And so we are there trying to address a particular issue, but if they need to break off to deal with something that may possibly save a life or prevent someone from receiving great bodily harm, then at the end of the day, we're all law enforcement officers, and we will respond to that accordingly. If those officers that are working special operations are not needed, once that scene is secured, once it's found out what is necessary, then those units can be freed up to continue on and doing what that operation was designed for, during those hours.
So you're saying with shared policing, utilizing units from other departments, is absorbing whatever it appears to be additional man hours and resources that requires. So there's no real demand for resources in that area.
No, I think I'm misunderstanding your question, but to try to give some clarity, when we run overtime operations, any officer, corporal, a lot of times, just let you take long haul. We have 2 sergeants and 14 members, officer corporals. Whoever wants to work that operation that's free during those times can sign up to work that operation. During patrol, if something goes on and it's a major call, it's a high priority call, if a unit is free in a neighboring district, they're going to start heading that way to offer assistance. Many times listening to the radio to see, because it could very well be if there's some type of foot chase or some type of vehicle chase, that person could very well be heading in that direction. So if a unit is not on a call, they start trying to focus their attention to where that call is originating so that they might be in a place to help. If it's something that sometimes even in the process, communication may come across the radio that the suspect is in custody or whatever the nature may be, then those units will stop heading that way and just continue on their patrol situation. So it's not like when something goes out that a detective, if he or she is in their office working on something, they have to stop that to come to that. But now, if it's something that's in their expertise, then most times, if they are the on-call investigator for that day, then they will come out to that scene. If something precludes them from doing that, then another investigator can respond and take care of what needs to be taken care of if it's of that nature to where a patrolman cannot gain the information, write the report, forward it up to the proper investigative unit to deal with it in that fashion.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Jenkins.
Okay, just two quick questions. How many people did we have graduate from the recruit class, the most recent class?
20.
20.
Yes, sir.
And do we know, or roughly, how many people have left the force, either retirement, transfer, so far this year?
Somewhere between, I think it's 18.
Okay.
I think around 18. I don't think we've made 21 yet, but we did have 2 to leave this month, and we have 2 that are scheduled to leave close to the end of this month, 1st of August.
Okay, and then the amount of overtime, now I want to say we had about 200,000 budgeted, right, for overtime this year? Is that, what was our original, before this amendment came in, what was our original budgeted overtime? Does anybody know?
We can look back.
Yeah, we can look back, but
We'll get the information for you.
not to make a fuss, but when I assumed this position as interim, the budget had already been set, and there were some. So you're not talking about that.
I'm not. It's not a criticism. I'm just trying to say. So we're adding 150 to however many we had before, and I'm just trying to figure out. And then I'm kind of curious to know how much of the whatever we had before have we already expended this year.
We've just. I can get you the direct numbers, but we've just about expended that.
We've just about expended what we had programmed for the entire year already this year.
Yes, sir.
And this may, and is this kind of the idea of we're going to do the same amount? The 150 was derived based on, well, we burned about 6 months, this 150, and now we're going to add another 150. I mean, I'm just kind of curious to know what order of magnitude this is. I mean, I'm all for it. I'm just trying to understand from a budgetary perspective.
Why don't we get that figure for you so that you'll have accurate information? I'd like us to take time to do that. And you know, one of the things that we've said is that whenever there's a need to add more overtime for the first responders, we come back to council. I mean, if it had run out before we asked for this, we would have come back to you anyway. And so we have that flexibility. You know, some years or not, we don't need as much.
Sure.
This year and last year we needed more, and so we'll come back if there is a need. But we'll get that.
I'm just
we'll
trying
get
to
that
understand.
Right. I got you.
Relative to what we budgeted, how much more we're doing.
Right.
So it's not a. It's just a curiosity.
Right.
I say curiosity.
You know, and it's really based on need. I think we need more at this point. Do you have?
The man who's working on the budget right now undoubtedly has a fairly good idea
Do you want to?
what we
I do.
programmed in last year.
Yes, sir. Last year total overtime budget was for this year, fiscal year. I'm always working a year ahead. So fiscal year 2017 was about a little over 1.4 million. Through the end of June, we've used about 80% of that. But now let me be clear. That includes Mardi Gras, all of our special events that we work. So that's not just for, are allocated for patrols and marked units. That's for 4th of July festival. That's for all of the different events that we work throughout the year.
Okay. And so somewhere in my mind, I got 200 was allocated to patrol overtime. Did it break down overtime that way?
Yeah, yes, sir.
250 or 2something?
Correct. For the operations division, we had about $435,000 allocated, but that also includes court overtime that we have to pay the officers when they go to court on their days off. So holiday time, that's figured in there as well.
Okay. But I think the applicable term is probably that 430. It's comparing apples to apples. The 150 is going to be augmenting that 430.
Correct, with the exception of that, of course, out of the 150, we're not going to be looking at things like court or holiday pay. That will be strictly for officers who will be out on the streets in these marked cars.
Perfect.
Marked trucks now.
Okay. Or cars.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Corbin?
My question's been answered.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. But I did want to ask you, no, we finished with you. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask the fire chief a question regarding.
Chief Wolverton, can you come? Can you come to the mic?
Good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon.
Listen, with the again the incidents that has been happening, the unfortunate incidents, a lot more EMS units are running here and there. Have that created any additional expenditures to your department? And are those a part of your daily or average daily calls?
I would have to really look to make a comparison, determine if the increase has caused any expenditures. Now, as far as run volume goes, I think we're tracking pretty much the same, maybe a little bit more than what we did last year, which was about a little over 42,000 runs. So if that's the question that you're asking. As far as expenditures,
we've had a lot of incidents.
yes, sir.
And
Well, and expenditures, are you referring to the amount of fuel cost it makes to make an additional runs, medical supplies, things like that? I'd have to take a look at that to see. I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head right now without looking at the data.
Well, I mean, you have time, but I'm just looking at what looks like, and it may not be, but it appears that the activity from the EMS units are higher than they were before.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it just appears that way. I mean, because of the constant, nightly, sometimes daily shootings and those kind of things, incidences.
Well, I could have that data for you tomorrow,
Well,
if you'd like to see it.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just the same.
Well, as I said, we're still tracking, as far as monthly run volume, we're still tracking along the same lines, a little bit more than 42,000 runs.
Okay.
So that's where we've been at. But we have upticked on our total call volume for probably the last 7, 8, 9 years, and especially on the EMS side of the total number of calls. Fire calls have stayed rather steady, around 1,200, 1,300 fires a year, but our EMS calls have steadily increased over the past few years. So, and I could show you that in a chart on those increase in those EMS calls. But those EMS calls are a wide variety of EMS calls, not just trauma calls, but also your aging geriatric population and things like that that increase those call volumes also.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but I was trying to be specific in saying trauma calls that has been a result of.
And like I said, I could have that data for you tomorrow. I'd hate to give you an answer because I couldn't give you an accurate answer right now as far as the amount of trauma runs and medical emergency calls.
Disregard everything I just said.
Okay, anything
Anyway,
else?
thank you. But
Can I
if
pick
you
on my
could
chief
provide
now,
those numbers.
Yes, sir. We'll get them for you.
But, you know,
Pick on
again,
my
we want the city to be responsive, safe and responsive to our needs.
Yes, sir. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
City Council Clerk didn't give us that information in City Council 101 when we started.
I think he left that out. Okay. Mr. Thompson, is there any table legislation to be removed from the table this day?
Not aware of any.
Number ordinance 72. Could you go over that?
Ordinance 72.
Did you read it?
No, I got through ordinance 71.
Did I skip
Can you
over
read
something?
ordinance 72?
Okay.
Ordinance 72 is a zoning case. It's the last one, number C-75-16, an ordinance amending Chapter 106 of the Code of Ordinances, the City of Shreveport zoning ordinance by rezoning property located on the east side of Monkhouse Drive, 1,629 feet north of Delibas Street, Shreveport, Caddo Pierce, Louisiana, from B1, C1 under the UDC Buffer Business District to B2, or C2 under the UDC Neighborhood Business District.
Any discussion?
Which one is this? Is this the one that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now I recall.
Which one? Yes. Now, Mr. Thompson.
Jeff, I'm not aware of any ordinance or resolution to be removed from the table. We have no appeals to take up at this time. And now the reports from offices, boards, and committees.
Does anyone have any reports? Okay. Mr. Thompson, is there a clerk's report?
You've already gone over the information that's on that clerk's report. And immediately after this session ends, there will be a special meeting starting.
Mr. Sweeney.
Ms. Sweeney.
If you will, I would like to ask you a question before you leave.
Immediately after this session ends, there will be an executive session is scheduled.
Okay. The chair recognizes Mr. Bradford.
Mr. Sweeney. Mr. Sweeney, since we met last, and I know you was tagged into several emails regarding some delays in people getting whatever they needed to get to go in to open their business. And after several rounds of emails and inquiries and some resolution was made, and they was allowed to do that. Why do that keep happening?
It depends on the case. It depends on which one you're talking about. In some situations, it was a case where the applicant would not give us the additional information we were asking for, or that they misunderstood the process by which they had to go through. The other reason is because some of these ones that you're looking at are under the old code of 106, and because we're going away from that, we terminated that. Some of those provisions, old provisions, were hanging over that we had to enforce because they had not come under the UDC, because they applied before the UDC was adopted. And that creates complexity in terms of how you make it work. We're getting through all of those. The last group has been reviewed, or will be reviewed in the next few days. And by the next time your agenda should go forward, it should be purely UDC, which will make it a lot easier and a lot more streamlined.
My concern is that it may be a false concern, but the perception for me is that you put up obstacles when we could have easily, it appears to me, that we could have easily suggested how we could get by those obstacles more expeditiously. We create anxiety in our citizens and those that are trying to do business with us. And once those anxieties reaches a level, it appears like, okay, all of a sudden we can work it out. Oh, we got it worked out now, y'all. And people are then sort of disappointed with the process.
Sure.
I mean, I think I've mentioned it before, you know, in my life experiences and working with people. I try to, before I say we can't make it work, I try to look at every option that's out there that we can use to make it work. And lessen the anxiety, lessen the delay of trying to do business. Because some of these, and I think you saw those, I mean, and again, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but I still say that when you're doing business, we have the UDC, but we also have common sense, and we have a heart to serve in a way that we should understand that we don't have the luxury to make anybody feel like they are not capable of doing business. Okay. We need to expedite getting our applications through so that nobody would feel like they have been inconvenienced. And that happened, you know, I got several calls. Councilman was mass emailed, and then all of a sudden, okay, we got it worked out. And people are still upset because they said we were delayed and we wasn't treated fair. So I'm just asking you, and I understand what you're saying. We don't want to violate anything, but at the same time, when possible, let's look at options of working with people to get it done, and not to land them no more and inconvenience them no more than we have to.
And I agree with you. It's a matter of how you treat people and you serve them correctly, and you look for ways to make things happen rather than just looking for things to stop things. And that's one of the things I tell my staff all the time is we're here to help find solutions. And sometimes what will happen is there is a roadblock, but it's a legal roadblock. And a lot of times, and you guys know this better than anyone, that a lot of times instead of stopping and working it out with me and my staff, they'll try to go around the process and come to y'all to complain. Well, when we could have resolved it down here, they'll jump over the process, and then that creates this atmosphere of intensity, so to speak. Now, that happens in a lot of situations, but most of the time, 99% of the time, we're able to work everything out at the staff level and get everything worked out so that we can expedite the process. But always in that context, you always want to have the attitude that you're trying to do what's best for the community and at the same time help that person accomplish their goal. And every once in a while, we'll find someone whose goal cannot be accomplished. They get real angry with us because they think we're just creating something out of thin air. But when the rules and regulations don't allow it, then we have to figure out the only way to change that is to change the rules. And sometimes that takes a while to do because that's not an easy process. But it's definitely a balancing act of doing what's best for the client, at the same time adhering to the laws and rules of the regulations. And that's a dance that we do every day, and it's not always easy. You very rarely get a phone call that says, what a wonderful job we did. You always get the phone calls of what we did wrong, you know, and that's just reality. Right.
Okay.
Then it's just reality.
Right. I mean, you want a medal for doing your job. Do your job, but we're going to hear when you don't do your job.
Absolutely. You will. Every time.
Mark, here's what I think.
Right.
You ever heard of the 10-second rule when you drop fluid on the floor?
Yes, I have.
That's what happened when we put UDC in.
Right.
We should have put a buffer zone in there for like 90 days to let you have more authority to correct something. Because what I see, Jeff, is that our zonings, we didn't set our zonings right. And so, for instance, we've had a house that, it was horrible out in Morby. Mike, it was grown up. Terrible. Right across the street was a mobile home. The man wanted to buy the property, tear the house down. It looked terrible. And put a mobile home. Couldn't do it. Those things we should have built in some buffer zone to let you get this thing, because we do have some things that are not right. And,
True. There's
it'd
imperfections.
been better on all
Ron.
of us if we'd have left you with a wand, 90 days at least.
But mobile home in a house is a bad example, right? Is this in the city?
Yeah, and there's mobile homes all out there. But we got a house that's completely grown up. I got pictures of it.
I understand the area you're talking about, I think, and I would say that's probably a difficult example just because it is a unique area where you do have mobile homes currently, but you also
can't
have...
put any new ones in there regardless.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really immaterial.
But he's saying maybe you should be able to, like he's saying
But
maybe...
in our existing ordinances, or
Correct,
we
that
couldn't
wasn't
go-
different.
that wasn't.
Yeah.
I'll count you as a no vote on my Thank you, Mark.
You're more than welcome.
Get some mobile homes and the horses. Horses. We're down for a no on both. We're down on both of them.
Yeah.
At least in the District C.
Any other comments? At this time, we will adjourn this meeting.